Hello everyone. Welcome to Let's Crack UPSC CSE in English with Unacademy. So, Let's Crack It is the slogan where you can crack UPSC CSE English or any other competitive examinations through Unacademy. And this lecture particularly deals with those topics which are highly important for UPSC CSE category. The target for these particular sessions is just UPSC. Done. So if you want to know about me, like my name is Vijay Kumar and I have 5 years of teaching experience. Like I have appeared for civil services interview twice and I also have given mains examination more than couple of times, right? So in this regard, every time I have been failed in this examination, I have never bothered, but still I have thought that I can make more aspirants to crack this examination. Since last 5 years I have been in this teaching field. Clear? So this particular lecture series is of summary of NCERTs. I'll make sure that you will learn all these NCERTs right away from 6th to 12th standard very perfectly, either through a map or through a diagrammatical representation or through different keywords. I'll make you learn about this NCERTs from 6th to 12th from geography, because these aspects of 6th to 12th geography NCERTs are highly important, because like 70% of geography syllabus which is given in UPSC mains examination GS paper 1, that would be included in your NCERTs itself. Clear? So I'll try better to cover each and every corner of your portion so that you won't find any difficulties either in prelims or in mains. Clear? So before we start up with the lecture, let me introduce one of the India's largest learning platform. It is Unacademy. So if you want to crack any examination, you can just crack it with Unacademy. Done. So if you want to crack UPSC CSE in that regard, just you should do one simple thing, that you have to download Unacademy learning app, and once you download Unacademy learning app, choose your goal as UPSC CSE. Clear? Just 1 minute. So please choose your goal as UPSC CSE, which is India's largest learning platform, that is Unacademy. Through Unacademy, you can crack this examination. Clear? Just download the app, Unacademy learning app, and once you choose UPSC CSE, you get the subscription, and once you get the subscription, you can enjoy all the live and recorded lectures. So what are the things which you are going to get once you get the subscription? It is one, daily live classes you would be getting, whereby there would be two-way communication, like you can ask the doubts in the class itself, you can engage in the discussions. And second thing is live test series and quizzes, like through which you can evaluate your preparation. And you will find structured courses on the platform, like it's not like random educators would be coming and dealing, but a structured way, in a very structured way, along with the UPSC syllabus, these courses would be made for you. And the fourth important thing is unlimited access. It's not like once you watch off and the video would be skipped away. You can watch those recorded lectures n number of times. Like for example, let's say you have took the subscription for 12 months or 24 months, you can watch all these live lectures until this 12 months and 24 months. Clear? So with very nominal amount of price, you can take the subscription of these particular platforms. Like, see, these are some of the top educators who deal on Unacademy. Apart from these, like we have 100 plus top educators all across the country who deal different aspects on Unacademy platform. So you can enjoy the live lectures of all the educators who make lectures related with UPSC CSE category. Clear? So, and this year UPSC, Unacademy has planned 5 exclusive batches. Like generally different educators would come, different aspects of module based would be dealt, but apart from that, complete batch course, because Unacademy is one such kind of platform where entire syllabus of UPSC is covered through different educators in different manners, so that it can reach audience, like it can reach aspirants as much as it can. And in such a way, 5 exclusive batches were started for complete preparation. People who are preparing for 2021 and 2022, these batches would be helping. So one such kind of batch, if you see, Mission UPSC CSE 2022, people who have targeted the examination in 2022, like people who are in the last year of graduation or third year of your engineering, they can just follow this particular course, and this would be a bilingual batch. Like Educator would be dealing the aspect in Hindi as well as in English. Clear? So this batch has already started. It started from 27th April, and these kind of batches we would be having full syllabus coverage according to prelims and mains, and test series would be conducted, and doubt clearing sessions would be there along with the interview preparations. This is one such kind of batch. And second batch is Hindi medium batch. Third is Expedition UPSC CSE 2021 batch. It is also English medium. And Mission UPSC CSE 2021, this is bilingual batch. So Enlight batch, Enlight UPSC CSE batch, this is for working professionals. So you can follow any one of these batches so that it will be helping you. Clear? Like Unacademy started conducting UPSC championship earlier, like it started from 29th March. You can attend it now as well. Just what you want to do is like open the app and try to enroll it, and it is very much free of cost for you. And see, like Unacademy also have special classes column for you. So what are special classes? They're completely free. Once you open the app, you will come to know what are special classes. So like apart from that, you also have the courses which are going to be created in such a way. The upcoming courses which are created on the platform, we can see them so that we can engage in our comprehensive preparation, how to prepare, what to prepare and all. Clear? So see, these are the UPSC subscription prices. Per 1 month 7,200, 3 month 18,000, 6 month 28, 12 month 36, and 24 month 43,200. I generally suggest aspirants to take for 12 month or 24 month subscription. The reason behind it is, if you see per month you will end up paying 7,200. Actual price is 8,000. So whenever you take the subscription, try to use my code called as VK10 so that you get 10% discount on the price which has been fixed by Unacademy. Done. I suggest aspirants to take for 12 month or 24 month. The reason behind it is, if you see for 12 months you end up paying 36,000. Like if you calculate it per month, you will end up paying 3,000 itself. It's not like we have an EMI option. Like these online courses just doesn't have these EMI options. And if you see, this 36,000 rupees will be calculated as 3,000 per month. And if you continuously pay like 7,200 per month, it would be more cost, like which you would be end up in paying. So that's the reason you have to take this 12 month or 24 month for your huge benefit. Clear? So we'll start up with our discussion. Major landforms of 7th NCERTs. Siddhartha Abhimanyu, hello. Talk of Pradeep, hello. Ram Kumar, hello. Haribabu, hello. So is my voice audible or is there any difficulty? If my voice is not audible, please let me know. I'll change it and correct, and we can start up with our discussion. Is my voice clear for everyone? Hope my voice is very perfect. Hello, Vijay Reddy. Hello, how are you? Chalo, we'll start up with the discussion. In the 7th class NCERT, like earlier chapters, we have already discussed about like a different erosional process. We have discussed about exogenic forces, and we have discussed about endogenic forces. In that, I have skipped earthquakes and volcanism. I'll be dealing that further during the larger discussions. Don't worry regarding with that. Clear? So in this particular NCERT, 7th NCERT, we have the rest of the chapters which include major landforms. Generally, the landscape of the earth surface, either it might be elevated portion or a mountain building process, it would be some of the forces from interior of the earth. Like yesterday we have discussed about endogenic forces. Done. In the last lecture we have discussed this. Endogenic forces are those forces which act on the earth surface from interior of the earth. But exogenic forces are different. Clear? So exogenic forces are those forces which act on the earth surface from the exterior. Hence what generally happens is, we have two important processes which generally break the earth's crust. That process involves weathering and erosion. So because of this weathering and erosion process, we would be having different landforms which would be generated on the earth surface. See, many people would be having confusion. Sir, what is weathering? What is erosion? Are they both same? Are they both different? Are they both difficult to understand? No, absolutely no. So what is weathering? Simply, weathering is breaking up of rocks on that surface. Just this is the statement which you have to remember. Like for example, if you say in the desertified regions, if we have maximum temperatures in the morning, and in the nights we would be having very low temperatures. Like in deserts we experience this. That's the reason why deserts would be experiencing highest diurnal ranges. It means the temperature difference between maximum and minimum temperatures would be very high. Like for example, if you say morning, if you have somewhere around 40 centigrade as average, and in the nights you would be having somewhere around 20 centigrade as average. Clear? So it means the difference between both is 20 centigrade. So morning without air conditioners you can't live, and in the nights without heaters you can't sleep. This is what the condition which happens in the desertified regions. Clear? So in such kind of regions, what happens is morning, because of maximum temperatures, we would be having expansion of rocks, and in the nights when the temperatures would be dropped down post the radiation, then we would be having cooling up and we would be having contraction of rocks. In deserts this is continuous process. Daily morning they would be expanding, and in the evening they would be contracting. Clear? So in this regard, because of the temperature as physical factor, the rocks which are present in the desert, they generally tend to break up. Either they would be breaking up as block disintegration, either they would be peeling off the layer, or either they would be converting themselves into small sediments. So this process is called as weathering. Everyone is getting this point, right? This process is called as weathering. Then what is erosion? See, erosion is wearing away of that particular land. For example, if you have a land surface in this regard, let's see, if you have a land in this regard, and if river is moving in this way, so if we are having weathering of this landscape, if we are having disintegration of this landscape, then that process would be called as erosion. So like for example, running water is disintegrating this particular land surface, then we would be having a V-shaped valley like structure which would be generated. So valley is an erosional landform made by river. In the similar way, there are certain agents which generally involve in the erosion process. Like it might be running water, it might be underground water, it might be wind which is moving, and it might be glacier, it might be sea wave, it might be anything. We would be having different factors where erosion would be most important aspect, and erosion would also be having different set of factors. Like it involves the amount of weathering. Like amount of weathering depends upon the rock surface. Erosion would also be dependent upon the landscape. Clear? So moving further, if you see, first we will see how the river creates, what is the work of river. See, river creates exceptionally n number of landforms, but as of now I am only sticking to 7th class NCERT. Post when we read 12th NCERT, we will be seeing deeper into those landforms which are created by the river. Is this clear for everyone? Hello Nikita Kumari, Anshuman Pandey, Chandu Pulamala. Shall we move further? Chalo. So river generally, what is river? The stream generally which tends to flow down the slope, that would be considered as river. Clear? So this particular river which is present in its initial stages, clear, in its initial stages, as the river has huge volume of water, in its initial stages, as the river has huge velocity, in its initial stages, as the river would be getting steep slopes, because generally most of the rivers, if you calculate those rivers of Himalayan rivers in India, so those rivers start right away from the melting of glaciers from the top of the mountainous ranges. Those streams would be getting the velocity because of the steep gradient, and those rivers would be having huge volume of water. So during these initial stages, generally river would be having different stages in it. One would be youth stage, and one is mature stage, and one is old stage. Just remember this particular statement. River in its youth stage, it would be having huge amount of velocity and volume of water. Reaching to mature stage, it would be reduced. Reaching to older stage, it reduces completely. So river in its youth stage, it creates some landforms. In mature stage, it would be creating some landforms, and in older stages, it would be creating certain landforms. Clear? So if you see the river in its use state, as it creates huge amount of, as it has huge velocity and volume of water, it tends to cut down the mountain range and tends to create a V-shaped valley like structure. Here you can observe the river, because of the cutting of this mountain ranges, it has created V-shaped valley like structures. Clear? So it is an initial landform which this river would be creating. So river in its initial stages, it tends to create valley like structures. Rivers generally tend to move in valley like structures, and we have certain differences, like either sometimes we may observe this V-shaped valley like structures, or we may see U-shaped valley like structures, which we generally call it as gorge, and we can see canyon like structures which would be developed. Almost it is similar to gorge, but we would be having deep cutting of this particular gorge. Clear? Those would be called as canyons. The best example you can take, the Grand Canyon of USA, which is present on Colorado River, near to that of Colorado Plateau, is the best example related with this. Clear? So in this way, the Indian river, most of the Indian rivers, they are now in the second stage. Most of the Himalayan rivers, they have created this gorge shaped structure. Earlier V-shaped valleys were created, but in that V-shaped valley like structure, lateral erosion have created this U-shaped gorge like structures. Clear? So in this regard, V-shaped valley might convert into U-shape, U-shape might deepen its valley and hence convert as canyon. So this is one such kind of landform which river tends to create in its erosional aspect. So if you could see, please try to remember these certain three statements. It is not given in NCERT, related with upper course, middle course or lower course, or we can simply say it as youth stage, mature stage and older stages. This type of landformic differentiation has been given in your 11th NCERT, but in 7th NCERT it has not given this. Please try to remember these particular three aspects. Clear? If you see, what are the characteristics? Generally they tend to move in a V-shaped valley like structure, and these particular river systems in its upper course would be having narrow shallow channel and high bed load. It means its velocity would be more and its transportational capacity would also be very more. And this particular transportational capacity, when it would be very more, it tends to create huge amount of depth valley like structures which are V-shaped valley like structure. Clear? So generally we can observe different waterfalls, V-shaped valleys and gorges in this regard. And moving to middle course, like it doesn't have huge steep slopes, rather it would be having gentle slopes and wider deeper channels. You can observe we are expanding the channels of this particular river, and more suspended sediment. It means it reduces the carrying capacity. Hence we can find meanders, river cliffs and so. And in the older stages, generally we find oxbow lakes, floodplains, natural leaves and deltas. Please try to remember this particular thing, or try to take a like screenshot related with this, so that you won't find difficulties in understanding. See, one more landform when river tends to create in its older stages. V-shaped valley like structure, it would be created in a youth stage, or waterfall would be created in youth stage. But river entering into older stages, what happens is, river, as it loses its transportational capacity and as the river has lost its velocity, river generally tend to move in that regard. So wherever river gets obstruction, it turns to create a bend for itself. You can see the flow and movement of the river which is present, that has completely created in continuous bend like structure. So this is called as river meandering. Almost every river of the world, it meanders, and the amount of meandering depends upon the rock or the topography or the velocity of the river. That is second criteria. But every river in the world, it tends to meander. So this kind of river meandering is also a process of the landformic development. Why? Because these river meanders would help in creation of oxbow lakes. What generally happens is, like, whenever the volume of water is very high, so this particular river meandering tends to create an extended loop. For example, let's assume the river, because of maximum volume of water, it has created an extended loop like structure. This would be called as extended meander loop. So water generally, despite of flowing from this margin, it tends to move into this margin. So later when the river channel is normalized, when the water would be normalized, again this river sets back, and hence this position, this meander loop which got extended, that would be left back, and there would be a clear cut difference between the main meander loop and extended meander loop. Hence in this regard we would be having formation of oxbow lakes or paleo channels. You can see in this picture. Is this clear for everyone? So earlier river sorry, earlier river might have created an extended meander loop, and this particular extended meander loop which is present, that extended meander loop later on it got abandoned, and when this particular meander loop has abandoned, hence later on when the normal riverized channel has been created, then it has been clearly cut off from the swamp vegetation or from the deposition of sediments. So these kind of channels are called as oxbow lakes, or they are called as paleo channels. Is this clear for everyone? So like a river in its older stages itself, what it generally does is the river loses its transportational capacity. Already I have said. So when the river tends to lose its transportational capacity, river tends to deposit the sediments on both of its banks. If you could see here, you are finding some elevated portions. So these are certain embankment like structures, and these embankment like structures are called as natural leaves. So these kind of natural leaf or embankment structures are created on the banks of river. So hence when it is created on the banks of the river, it tends to protect the adjoining areas from flooding. It means whenever river tends to raise the water level, when the volume of water would be raised because of heavy rainfalls or because of heavy influx from the tributaries, the basin water level would be exceeding. Hence it is these embankments which would be helping to control the level of this river. But sometimes this particular natural leaf could not also help, then river tends to come out, and when river tends to come out, it tends to like flood in this adjoining regions, and when river tends to flood in this adjoining regions, we would be having creation of these floodplains. So these floodplains, every time when generally river floods, almost all the perennial rivers, they create these kind of floods, and these perennial rivers, when they come and when they flood in this region, these river systems would be depositing huge amount of sediments. That's the reason why the adjacent margins of these river basins in the older stages, they are considered as floodplains, which every year would be receiving fresh sedimental deposition and fresh alluvial soil. Hence these floodplains, they are notably like they are very much important for the fertileness of the soil. So these floodplains are very much important for good amount of soil protection in that region. If you could see how generally natural leaves would be developed, generally this is the water level, the bank full stage, and later on we would be having deposition of finer and thinner sediments on the floodplain by the river itself, and coursed material at the channel of the edge. Then later on, slowly with the deposition, this particular natural leaf would be raised. So please try to remember, especially people who would be having geography as optional, like while they start explaining about the formation of natural leaves and floodplains, it is necessary and it is essential that they have to draw these kind of diagrammatical representations, so that they will be fetching up few good marks apart from others. So like this is what it is. Can anyone name this? What actually this picture is? Can anyone name this? Clear? This is delta. So river in its last stages, whenever completely it has lost the velocity, completely when it has lost the transportational capacity, river while entering into the sea, it can't enter into a single branch. Rather, river tends to deposit the sediments at the coastal region on the land surface itself. So when it tends to deposit the sedimental structures, these sediments, they would be acting as obstruction for this particular river stream. And when that particular sediment dropped by the river acting as an obstruction, that makes the river system to divide into distributaries, that results into formation of a deltaic structure. Again, I am repeating my statement. River entering into its old stage just deposit the sediments in the coastal region itself. So what happens is when river tends to deposit the sediments in the coastal regions, we would be having that particular sediments, they would be acting as an obstruction and they tend to distribute the river, creating the huge amount of distributaries, and that results into formation of delta. Clear? So Akshaya Sundarban Delta, it's absolutely true. Abhinaya, it's buffering. Please check it out from your side. My internet is awesome. Clear. So is this clear for everyone? Chalo. So next, landforms made by sea waves. I have already said it is along with the river, it is also coastal regions which would be having creation of landform by the sea waves. If you see, the coastal regions which are present, they generally tend to create a maximum sea caves or sea arches or stacks. Let's see how they would be formed. See, here I am only discussing about those landforms which are present in your 7th NCERT. Don't think that I am only discussing few of the related aspects. I'll be discussing it later on when we get time during the 11th NCERT as well. Here we will be starting up with basics, remembering few, and later moving further we will be remembering all. Clear? So in general, when sea waves tend to come and when they hit on the coastal region, we would be having development of a cave-like structure, and that particular cave-like structure formation would also depend upon the rock structure which is present in the coastal region. If we have hard rock topography, then sea caves are nominally not formed. If we have soft rock topography, then only there are chances that we would be having formation of sea caves. Either we can observe this kind of sea caves formation in the coastal region. And if you see, like for example, if this is a perpendicular rock, like we generally call it as a headland. Do remember this, we generally call this as headland. And when sea waves tend to come and hit, we would be having formation of sea cave, that is common. And from back region also, whenever the things come and when another sea cave would be developed over there, and because of the continuous movement of water, these both the sea caves tend to mix, and hence we would be having a passage like structure which would be created, and hence we would be having creation of this passage. It appears like an arc like structure, hence we generally call it as sea arc or marine arc. Apart from this, we would be finding a pillar, like sometimes let's say if this cave has been elaborated in this way and if this adjacent margin has completely collapsed, then a single pillar like structure would be left out, and that particular single pillar like structure which would be left out, it is called a stack. And if these stacks are somewhat deep into the water, only the topmost portion of stack would be visible above the sea level. Such kind of structures in the coastal regions, they are called as stumps. They are called as stumps. Please do remember this particular thing. So apart from that, if you see, generally in the coastal regions where waves are very active in nature, so in the coastal regions we can see that some of the waves would be very active, and that kind of active waves, they generally tend to erode the coastal margin. And when they tend to erode the coastal margin, such kind of perpendicular wall like structures would be developed, and the rest of the portion might have eroded because of this particular activeness of sea waves. So such kind of perpendicular rock like wall like structures which are visible, they are called as cliffs. They are generally called as sea cliffs. Why I mean to say this particular landforms is, these are the first initial landforms which would be developed before the sea caves are formed, before the sea arcs or marine arcs are formed. It is the sea cliffs which would be developed in the initial stages. Later on the sea cliffs, that particular portion which is having softer nature, those will be experiencing formation of sea caves. Got this point? So sea cliffs are one of the most important erosional landforms which are generated by the sea waves. Clear? So next, if you want to see like the work of glaciers, the most important aspect which glacier creates is moraines. So what are moraines? As we have seen natural leaves, Hope you remember this, right? Just now we have discussed the running water in its older stages, because of the losing, because they lose the transportational capacity, hence they tend to deposit the sediments on both of its banks, creating an embankment like structure, right? In this same regard, whenever glacier tends to move and when glacier tends to come down the slope, when glacier tends to come down the slope, let's assume this is glacier number 1 and this is glacier number 2, clear? So these glaciers, when they come down the slope, when they lose their velocity, the glaciers also might have eroded different mountain systems, and these glaciers, when they have eroded different mountain systems, they might have collected the sediments, and when they might have collected the sediments, those sediments might have deposited, like when they have lost the transportational capacity, the sediments might have deposited on the banks of this glacier. So when the sediments have deposited on the banks of this glacier, we might have created this particular embankment like structure. You can see here elevated sedimental embankments, elevated sedimental embankments. These kind of structures which show a path to the glacier, they are called as moraines. And we have different types of moraines, I think, like not necessary for your perspective. Like if you see on the both banks of the glacier, if you have, they are called as lateral moraines. And when lateral moraines of two glaciers meet, like this particular one, it would be called as medial moraine. And where the glacier tends to end, just to the front face of that glacier, if we create any, if we have creation of moraines, then that would be called as terminal moraine. So please try to remember this, either we have lateral moraine or medial moraine or terminal moraine. Done. Next, work of wind. Like generally, wind is very much active in deserts. Why? Because it won't find much of the obstructions. So what happens is, like in the desertified regions, let's assume wind started moving in this direction, like in this direction, and wind tends to create or erode. Again, I'm repeating, wind tends to erode that particular rock which is exactly at its base level. See, when wind is moving at 2 meter or 3 meter height, the wind tends to erode that 2 meter or 3 meter height adjacent rocks itself. Why it will erode that rock which is present at 10 meters height? So what generally happens is, some of the rocks which were present, they will be experiencing the erosion at the base level of the wind. And when this type of erosion happens at the base level of the wind, the like topmost rock would not be eroded, and the beneath rock which is present, that would not be eroded, and hence it starts appearing like a mushroom structure. So these kind of rocks generally we can observe in like post Jaipur, when we reach in Rajasthan, near to Udaipur, near to Jodhpur, we can observe such kind of rocks. Those rocks which are present, which are erosional landforms created by these winds, they are considered as mushroom rocks. Clear? So they are considered as mushroom rocks. Please try to remember this particular statement. Otherwise, in other regard, the deserts, in the desertified region itself, generally wind would be having high velocity because of absence of orographic obstruction. But in deserts, either because of the obstruction from the vegetation or any obstruction from the skeletons which are left out of huge animals like camel, like we would be finding most of the camels in the desert. So if the dead bodies of animals or vegetation, or in some of the regions we can experience the fencing categories, so in these particular regions we would be experiencing the reduction of velocity of the wind. So wind generally tends to carry the sand along with itself. So when there is an obstacle in the path of the wind, that wind tends to deposit the sand, and that sand would be deposited in the form of a dune like structure. And sand dunes are one of such kind of depositional landforms which are created by the wind systems. So winds, when they get obstruction in its path, it would be creating huge amount of sand dunes. And we have different sand dunes associated with it, like barkans, transverse, and longitudinal sand dunes. Please don't remember this, like it's not necessary for you. Just remember what actually is a sand dune. Barkan is nothing but which has a crescent moon shaped structure. Some of the sand dunes would be having crescent moon shaped structures called as barkans, and some would be created, some of the sand dunes would be created in perpendicular direction to that of wind, they would be called as transverse, and some sand dunes would be created within the direction of wind, they are called as longitudinal sand dunes. Clear? So these are some of the depositional landforms. Apart from this, we have many other landforms. This, as the 7th class introduction, 7th class summary, I have only calculated few landforms for you. So moving further, we will be trying to increase the level of understanding and level of going deeper. Are there any doubts? If you have any doubts in these lecture, please let me know. Chalo. If you have any doubts, please let me know. I'll clear it off. Chalo. So we will end up the session and we will continue this NCERT series until the 12th standard. So daily I'll be coming up live exactly at 12 p.m. Please try to focus upon, and please do subscribe to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English channel and also Unacademy channel also. Done. So please click on the bell icon for continuous notifications, and also please do subscribe to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English channel. And while you subscribe to the UPSC CSE on the Unacademy platform, please try to use my code called as VK10. So while you use my code called as VK10, you will be getting 10% discount on the platform. Clear? So don't waste your time just by sitting at your home. You can crack civil services with India's largest learning platform, that is Unacademy. And if you have liked this video, please give a like symbol, and also do share this video as much as it can reach to every corner of the country. Clear? Well, no one is having any doubt. Nikita Kumari, Akshay, Chandu, Abhinaya. So chalo, we'll end up the session here and we'll continue up with the 7th standard last 2 chapters in the next lecture. Thank you for watching this lesson. Have an awesome day. Jai Hind.